first moments of a game are some of its most important. In the opening cutscenes, quests, and areas, the game must introduce its mechanics, build on them, and, with any luck, hook the player to keep playing. It's really no different from a movie, book, or YouTube video in that regard. If the user isn't invested after the first little while, they'll quickly put it down in search of better uses of time. However, a strong opening remains in memory long after the game concludes. Years later, the stormy night of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and the bombing run of Final Fantasy VII still resonate with fans, not to mention the Skyrim clip which opens this video. In this loose series, we'll look at how a variety of games introduce themselves, what works, what doesn't, and what tactics they use to keep players playing. What better place to start than Kirby? The Kirby franchise is well renowned for its difficulty, or perhaps more accurately, its lack thereof. The series is cute, colorful, and friendly, with forgiving movement and a wide variety of abilities at the player's disposal. As it has a substantial audience of young or inexperienced gamers, its early game instruction tends towards the overt, particularly in recent years. That said, it's not without more implicit guidance, as we'll see in Kirby's latest outing, Kirby Star Allies. After a brief cutscene, Star Allies opens to green gardens, an idyllic grassland with no immediate threat. This setting puts the player at ease. They don't have to worry about speeding through the level or anything pressuring them to move faster than they're prepared to. In a tradition established over 30 years prior by Super Mario Bros., Kirby starts on the left side of the screen, indicating the direction of progress in such a familiar way that many wouldn't think twice about it. As they move in that direction, the first ledge comes with a sign showing a controller and an animation of Kirby jumping when the button is pressed. These control signs are a series tradition, and I'd like to talk about them a bit more. Blatant signs displaying the controls mid-level could easily turn people away. Even I have historically found them heavy-handed and distracting from the subtle encouragement of the level design. However, they exist for more than just fulfilling tradition. I stated earlier that early game instruction tends to be overt, and this is a prime example. More than any of Nintendo's other works, Kirby games are designed for the possibility that they are a player's first game. Not only that, due to the Switch system's unique controllers, Star Allies supports several control schemes, some of which lack the usual lettered buttons. It never hurts to display basic controls blatantly. It keeps players that need it more engaged and less frustrated, and the players who don't can just walk past. Just past the sign is another Kirby series staple, inhaling. Rather than diving into its intricacies right away, the player begins with inhaling enemies and spitting them back out as star projectiles. This is followed by a brief sort of variations on a theme approach, with a block to spit at a Bronto Burt, then a Cappy which functions as both ammo and a target. By the end of this short segment, the message is clear. The player can inhale things and spit them out at other things. This leads nicely into its next facet, copying enemy powers. The first such power is Sword, one of the most straightforward available, and the pushy grass dead ahead is a nice demonstration of its utility. The player is only at the end of the first room, and they've already had a crash course in what makes Kirby, Kirby. There are only a couple of points throughout this first level where control is taken away from the player, and they're both brief introductions of mechanics entirely new to Star Allies. The first is for a demonstration of the Friend Heart, the ability to throw a heart at a foe with a copyable ability to add them to the player's team. This first instance is emphasized quite heavily, but this makes it impossible to pass without utilizing the mechanic, allowing the rest of the game to assume understanding. The second instance is handled similarly regarding elemental friend abilities, the elemental attribute of an ability such as fire, ice, or spark added to a different ability, like sword. The rest of the level is rife with obstacles which must be cut and burned at the same time, as both friend hearts and abilities have been added to the player's repertoire. As we wrap up, I want to touch on a few cases of more implicit guidance. After ally characters enter the picture, their actions can quietly inform the player of how to surpass some obstacles. Examples throughout the stage include ducking down through platforms and dashing across short gaps, both of which have warranted control signs in prior Kirby games. Flying is a similar case, and another element which makes Kirby an overall beginner-friendly series. A platform with unlimited flight is far more merciful than the multitude without. In the cases of both flying and ducking through platforms, signs do appear should the player loiter around them, offering help to players who need it without distracting those who don't. The level ends with the player pulling a cork using 4 levers, one for them and each of their 3 allies. which was also presented midway through the stage with only 2 levers. Despite some more overt guidance at the slight expense of implicit level design, the first level of Kirby Star Allies does its job well and makes an effective introduction to both the game and the genre to follow. After its initial heavy-handedness, the game settles into a more relaxed form of direction, trusting the player to generally have a feel for its mechanics, but also offering some assistance in case they need it. For one final note, if you're watching this the day it goes up, then I'm playing through Star Allies for my first Extra Life fundraising stream of the year tomorrow, February 5th, starting at 10 AM Central Time. The announcement video I've linked covers the event in more detail, but it's a marathon livestream to raise money for a local children's hospital. One of the milestones will inform a video next month as well, so if you want to see my take on Kirby, definitely consider donating. With that taken care of, this has been Chaotic Teal, and thank you for watching.